What's up guys, and welcome to today's video. Hope everybody is well. Today's video is a little look back over the past decade of my training and my physique and how that has changed. I've been training for a grand total now of 14 years. That's a long time. And I guess this is kind of a part two to the original transformation video which I put up a few years ago. If you haven't seen that, I recommend you watch it. But this one, we're going to have a look at how my physique has changed over the past decade. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't say there's been any drastic changes. However, there has been a few peaks, there's been some troughs, and there's been some interesting stories as to why they have occurred. But overall, I'd say I've been pretty damn consistent. So let's go back 10 years from this point today. It was 2012, 21 years old, working a full-time job at Hollister. I had 4 years of training in the bag already, but although my upper body looked quite good, the lower body was certainly lacking because I never trained legs. Trained legs probably once every month, every 2 months. I just simply didn't really see the need to because I didn't enjoy the sessions. They were unpleasant and hard. And I didn't really have a huge amount of footage to show at this point in time because social media wasn't really a thing. I didn't have Instagram. Obviously, I didn't have YouTube, and the selfies weren't really a thing. Whenever I went to the gym, I was not taking pictures. I was going to the gym, doing my session, and just doing it purely for the love of it. But what I noticed at that point, I found it difficult for me to take my physique to the next level because I was working that full-time job. It was almost like a 9 to 5, and sometimes the hours were really awkward, working a night shift. I was basically just getting the gym sessions in when I could. Sometimes it was in a lunch break, sometimes after work, before work, and on my days off. So we fast forward to the year 2013. This year was quite a big year of change for me because I eventually quit my job at Hollister and I became a full-time certified personal trainer. Now I noticed my physique massively improved at this point because for the first time ever, I could go to the gym whenever I wanted to. I was learning more about fitness, training, nutrition. I think I definitely learned the most about nutrition in that year. So I was eating better, training harder, training when I wanted to, and I noticed my physique just started to blow up to that next level, and particularly legs, because that was when I started posting on Instagram and everybody was like, oh yeah, like cool physique, but I bet he's got no legs. Because I never showed my legs. And they were right, I didn't have any legs. So I was like, oh, okay, I need to sort this out because I need a full proportional physique. So that's the year when I really started hammering my legs at a really cool old school gym, Men at Work in Newcastle. And I had my training partners who pushed me. If we fast forward on to 2014, that year was even better because me and my training partner, we set up a training company and we opened up our own studio. So I was practically living in a gym. My office was upstairs, the gym was downstairs, and I was there every single day of the week. And that year was the year where I decided to push myself. I entered my first competition. So obviously when you have that goal in mind, your training, your discipline and intensity just goes to the next level, because when you know you're going to be stepping on stage, you really want to look your very best. And at that point, especially at the start of the year, my legs still didn't really look that good. They had a lot of catching up to do. So I had to absolutely destroy them twice a week. I had some brutal sessions, and every time I trained, I always visualized myself standing on stage and just having these little twig legs and everyone laughing at me. And I was like, no, that's not acceptable. I'm not going to allow that to happen. So at this point, I would say my physique, without a doubt, was looking the best it had ever looked, particularly when I was becoming really strict with my diet. In fact, whenever I had my own studio, every day I was going to the gym with boxes of Tupperware. The night before, I prepared all my meals. I knew exactly the calories which I was consuming, the macro breakdown, and I would just eat out of the Tupperware all day, every day. So everything was on point. I wasn't even really going out and partying that much. I was just living a very humble lifestyle in Newcastle. And to be honest, you know, when you're in that point where you're starting off as a personal trainer and setting up your own business and you have a lot of overheads, I didn't have any disposable income. So even if I did want to go out and enjoy myself and travel, I couldn't afford to. So I was just doing all my food shops at Lidl and just making my food at home and just eating it all. So that year, I think I competed at the beginning of May. I'd say I was in the best condition I'd ever been in my life. I was maybe not the biggest I'd ever been, but I was certainly the leanest, and I learned a hell of a lot about what it takes to push your body to the extreme, particularly when it comes to dropping your body fat percentage. That was a real test, and I learned a hell of a lot about it. Fast forward to 2015, and it was a similar story. It was a bit of a repeat from the previous year. I decided to compete again, pushed myself, went through the whole process. I wasn't as restrictive, so I think when I managed to go on stage, I'd held a lot more size. It wasn't quite as defined, but still looked pretty damn good. 2016, the physique, once again, was looking decent. I would say I was probably the fittest that I'd ever been at this point, because I had one of my best pals, Brad Tarrant. He was my training partner, and he's like really into doing like crazy hip workouts. So whenever he would do a hip workout with the battle ropes or the prowler, the sled, or the bike, the watt bike, you know, we'd do it together, we'd push each other. And without a doubt, I was the most conditioned that I'd ever been at that point in time, because I was doing 2 hit sessions a week. And on top of that, I was probably training about 6 times per week as well, which when I look back, I think it was probably overtraining. But when you literally live in a gym and the weights are like literally right in front of you, it's very tempting to just go and train. So the training volume was definitely excessive, but there was a bit of a hiccup. There was some issues. Me and my business partner had a falling out, and I ended up leaving that gym in around October of 2016. My life was a complete mess at this point in time, because I'd really felt like I'd taken a step backwards with everything that I'd done, everything that I'd worked on. I walked away from my gym. This brand which I've been trying to build, I basically walked away from as well. I walked away from all my clients, all my money. So I went back home to live with my dad, my brother. So yeah, my life was a mess. And the only real form of revenue I had at that point in time was just a sponsorship from AHP Labs. So I noticed that when my life tends to be in a mess and I'm stressed out, not feeling great, I resort to food to kind of comfort me. So I would say for the rest of that year, 2016, my priority wasn't being in the best shape I could possibly be in. My priority was to sort my fucking life out, because it was a mess and I wasn't making any money. 2017 was the year of YouTube for me. I remember at the beginning of that year, I said to myself, right, we're gonna make this happen, YouTube's gonna blow up. So that whole year, I look back, I didn't really do anything too interesting. It was literally just me in my apartment and a tripod, talking to it, going to the gym, having my friend hold the camera and just filming, editing the videos myself, uploading them, and doing a lot of online coaching. That was my main revenue stream at that point in time. You know, I didn't really care about going out and partying, because I just wanted to, you know, after the terrible year of 2016, I just wanted to get, you know, my name out there, my brand out there, and to grow my business. But what I did notice from being too work focused and not really taking some time out to go and enjoy myself and live life, I wouldn't say I was depressed, but I was definitely not happy during this year. I turned again to food to make me happy and to entertain myself. So I look back and I remember on weekends I wasn't really going out or doing anything. I was just sat at home just eating Domino's pizza, and you know, my highlight was walking around Kingston and just trying to find like desserts and stuff and enjoying desserts, and then sitting at home feeling disgusting and going to bed and then just repeating it day after day. So that year of 2017, I don't think I peaked in terms of my physique. I didn't look amazing. I looked okay, you know, relatively speaking, I looked good, but I don't feel like I looked my best at that point in time. I was in a long distance relationship with a girl from Sweden, and I would see her maybe once or twice a month. She'd come to see me or I'd go to see her, and we'd be together for like 4 or 5 days. And that was when I was like super happy. And then after that, it was kind of like a bit of a downer, but it was all right because I just kept my head down and focused on my work. And then at the end of that year, I went through a pretty bad breakup. You know, I felt like my life was a bit of a mess because I didn't really have many friends in London, and she was my best friend. And then all of a sudden, I no longer had my best friend because we broke up. So at the end of 2017, I was just a bit confused. I wasn't enjoying life, that's for sure. We move into 2018, and I guess this was the biggest year of change for me. We started off the year single, free to do what I wanted to do, which was quite nice. And because I'd worked so hard in 2017, I had a bit of disposable income, and I'd built up a decent reputation from being a coach, YouTuber. I had a successful coaching business, so I, for the first time, had some freedom to actually, you know, travel and see the world. And this was one of the things which kind of motivated me to keep on top of my physique. And I think as well, because I enjoyed life a lot more this year, I was traveling, I was meeting up with a lot of other people who were in a similar position, like other YouTubers. Life was just way more fun. And because I was traveling to warm destinations, there was a motivation to stay in shape. And because I had these exciting trips to look forward to and I was socializing a lot more, I was just generally happier. And I noticed when I'm happy and life is going well for me, I don't really need to resort to food to make me happy. So I look at my diet that year, it was definitely a hell of a lot better, and I was able to maintain a much leaner physique throughout the year. But unfortunately, one of the trips which I took earlier on in the year when I went to LA, I really messed up my shoulder. I was swinging from the rings in Santa Monica, and God knows what I'd done to my rotator cuff, but it was bad. And I would say for the rest of that year, my shoulder was never 100%. It was always holding me back from training shoulders properly and even from just doing bench press. So my physique took a bit of a hit in terms of, I'd definitely say, proportions. I couldn't really train chest, couldn't train shoulders, and even with back, there were certain exercises I couldn't do. So over this period of time, my legs certainly improved. My delts decreased in size. My back decreased in size. My chest somehow miraculously stayed the same, but I think that's just genetics mostly. So even though I still maintained a decent level of body fat throughout this year, I definitely wasn't my biggest, and my training was definitely held back with how hard I could push myself and with the exercises which I could actually do. It was annoying and painfully long process coming back from that injury to where my shoulder was 100% again. 2019, what a great year that was. Very fond year. The year of freedom before the world shut down in 2020. This year, I was living in a beautiful apartment in London. I was hanging out with my best mate all the time, Louis Armstrong, my own cameraman, and we were just traveling around the world. During this period of time, I had all the holidays planned out. So even during the colder months when I didn't really want to stay lower body fat percentage, because I knew I was going somewhere warm in like 1 to 2 weeks time, I was like, right, okay, I need to get myself in shape for this holiday because I want to look good on holiday. So all that year, I constantly had this motivation to be in decent shape because I knew I was going to be pretty much topless all the time, which obviously helps. And even when I was on holiday and traveling to these places, realistically, meal prep wasn't happening. My diet wasn't the best in terms of hitting my macros. I was still eating healthy, and I learned a lot about making sensible choices when I was traveling. It was also a big eye-opener for me because I realized that, okay, well, Mike, you are your happiest and you are most motivated to stay in shape when you're in a warmer place. So maybe it's time for you to actually move to somewhere warmer and, leave the UK, which is exactly what I did. End of 2019, I made the decision to move to Dubai, and I went there 29th of December. So 2020, how did we start the year? Well, probably not great because I was in a brand new city, an exciting city. I was going out, networking, meeting new people. I got very carried away and I went out quite a bit and drank quite a lot. More so than when I was in London. When I was living in London, I didn't really go out and party a huge amount. Now that I was in Dubai, I think like everybody who comes to Dubai, they get carried away, particularly when they move here for the first time. So January wasn't a very good month. I drank a lot. And I noticed my sleep was terrible. I don't know if this had something to do with sleeping on the 36th floor, whether the bed wasn't great, because my mattress in London was, oh God, it was a good mattress. And it was a dark bedroom and it was cold. But my apartment in Dubai it was high up, it wasn't very dark, and the air conditioning was so goddamn loud. So I noticed I was getting like 5-6 hours sleep every night, and I noticed that this took a big hit on my physique, as well as the regular drinking, the decreased testosterone production that was taking place, which happens whenever you do drink. So I noticed in January, end of January, beginning of February, I didn't look very good. February, I think I kind of decided to stop drinking, and I met my ex-girlfriend who, she wasn't really into drinking at all anyway, so at that point I wasn't going out anymore and there was no need to drink. So I was starting to look good again, my physique was getting on point, and then bam! Right after a trip to the Maldives, the gym's closed. So yeah, as everyone experienced during that year, probably 2020 was the year of yeah, terrible training for most people. I mean, I know some people got in shape during lockdown or in better shape, but it was the opposite for me. So with the gyms being closed, you know, I was driving to Abu Dhabi to try and train. I was doing some, you know, body weight workouts, which I just resent with a passion. So my physique was kind of all over the place. I was definitely losing size. I was out of routine. And then as the lockdown became more severe, in Dubai, we basically weren't allowed to leave the apartment. Couldn't go for walks, couldn't go outside, just had to stay in the apartment, which was awful. My step count went down massively. Because I wasn't going outside, I was literally looking out the window, looking at all the literally amazing weather. I was looking at the beach, empty beach, and I couldn't go out and enjoy it. So my motivation really kind of went downhill. I was getting a bit depressed because I wasn't allowed out to be free. And me and my girlfriend just kind of, I had a good time with her, but we were just sat watching films, eating shit. And thank God I managed to invest in some gym equipment earlier on, because I thought, you know, this probably is going to go on for a while. So I bought this big rig. I rented some dumbbells and a bench from the warehouse gym, and that kept me going. But I would definitely say I kind of went through a bulking phase at this point, but it wasn't a clean bulk. I was just eating crap, to be honest. I was eating good food, but I was also eating crap as well. So I look back at this and I did not like my physique at this point in time, because I wasn't eating the best quality food. I felt like I was inflamed. And overall motivation just wasn't very high at this point in time. So when did the gyms open again? I think it was May. Yeah, mid-May. Thank God Dubai was one of the places where they opened the gyms again pretty soon. So the motivation came back. The weather was good, but it was, you know, really boiling. And then I stayed in Dubai for like an extra month or two before, beginning of July, I moved to Ibiza. Ibiza is obviously a very crazy place, as many people are aware of, but this year everything was closed, like nothing was open. So it was like this very peaceful, relaxing island, which thankfully the gyms were open, restaurants were open, but there weren't really any parties taking place. Maybe like the month of July there was some parties, but then they cracked down on them, closed everything, imposed a load of restrictions. So that was the end of the partying. So basically all like end of July, I don't know, it was after my birthday, August, September, beginning of October, all I did was just go to the gym and live a very relaxing, peaceful life. And I'd managed to get myself into great shape because of the lifestyle, because of the training, the sleep. I remember I was staying in this apartment and they had blackout blinds. So when you put the blinds down, the room was pitch black. The air conditioning was so good, it was silent, the room was freezing. And I was getting the best sleeps I think I'd ever had, because I would wake up at like 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, look at my phone and be like, damn, I didn't even realize like what time it was. I was sleeping like 8 hours every night. So I think that this definitely had a contribution to my physique looking the way it did. So I was really happy with my physique at this point in time. And after that, moved back to Dubai. And I think this is when things got a little bit wild again, because Dubai was literally the only place in the world where things were open. So everybody started coming to Dubai. Like literally every single person that I knew in the fitness industry had come to Dubai because they couldn't train in their gyms in Europe, because Europe had gone back down into a lockdown. So there was like one big party in Dubai, and I think I definitely got sucked into the party life here again, particularly in December. In December, I don't think I uploaded a video all month. I was getting very carried away, so obviously my physique didn't look that good. Nowhere near as good as it did when it kind of peaked in September time of 2020. 2021, great start to the year. I think Dubai had cracked down on quite a lot of the partying, and I'd got my motivation back. My cameraman was living with me, and things were going well. And I think particularly when it came to April time, May time, I was in really good condition, because once again, I wasn't going out, getting distracted, partying or anything like that. I was just really focused on my work, my training, and so on. Then, same thing happened again, went to Ibiza, but, oh no, where did I go? I went to Marbella first. And this really just messed things up quite a lot. So I went to Marbella, and then I just got so carried away with going out and partying, and I'd noticed a couple of big nights really just shafted my training. Wasn't eating very good. And yeah, it's just mad how like 1 or 2 weeks of doing that, your physique just doesn't look nowhere near as good. You can't hold on to that same amount of muscle mass, and the motivation kind of is all over the place, and your ability to maintain that strength is massively hit. And then I went to Ibiza, and then this year, or not sorry, this year, last year, 2021, there was a lot more going on in Ibiza. Even though the clubs were closed, there was more people there. It was more lively, there was kind of less restrictions. And I mean, I got myself invited to some very good parties, villa parties, and was even staying with a billionaire for 2 weeks, which, I mean, that's another story for another time, but that was wild. And that, that was probably when, I think realistically, my training and my physique looked its worst. I mean, I even went off the radar a little bit on social media. I wasn't really posting anything. But I mean, there was just no motivation to go to the gym. I remember when I did force myself to go to the gym, it was just like, oh, it was so much hard work. And, you know, just, I didn't really care, to be honest. I was just like, hey, let me just fucking enjoy my life. I was loving it, enjoying life, just being normal, very much out of my usual routine. And then after that experience in the villa, it was definitely more chilled, but I was living with my friends who, they like to go out and drink a bit of beer, and I noticed every day I was drinking beer. It wasn't a lot of beer, but like 1 or 2 pints every day. I'd noticed that like July, August time, I got myself this little belly. I think this is all relatively speaking, but for me, I noticed there was some few days where I was like, wow, like you can barely see my abs. And whenever I drink beer, I get this bloat. I don't really have a huge amount of footage of it because I didn't really want to take any videos or pictures of me looking like that. I mean, what am I going to do with it? I'm not going to upload it. I don't really want people to see me at my very worst. After that summer, came back to Dubai, and then the motivation was right back up there. Had you know, my Latvian team with me, so back into a good routine of eating, training, and really just had my head screwed on a little bit more, and was just more focused on working on new projects and getting things done. And I guess this is what kind of takes us into 2022, this year now. With everything that I've got going on, I feel like now I'm busier than ever. I have more responsibility than ever, and I keep wanting to do more things. So I noticed that the amount of free time which I have is certainly less. And the things which are on my priority list, you know, training no longer is, I mean, it's sometimes it's at the top, but there are other things now which are more pressing. So I've noticed, particularly this year, you know, I've had days where I'm so busy that I've actually skipped the gym, or I've had to rush a workout or not train at the time that I usually train. You know, in previous years, I'd always had this routine where I'd train at the same time of the day, whereas now it was kind of like, oh, let me just squeeze this training session in when I can. And I noticed that this has definitely had an impact on the effectiveness of my training sessions. And I also notice, I think this is just something that comes with age. Like, I'm now 31, going on 32. I feel like in my sessions, I'm not getting like the crazy pump which I used to. You know, I remember in previous years, whenever I'd go to the gym, I'd get this pump where I'd feel like my skin was like ripping apart because my muscles were that pumped. And I could see like my veins, like crazy vascularity. And I noticed that that's not really happening as often now. It still happens from time to time, but nowhere near as often as it used to. And I'm maybe thinking like, shit, is this like, am I fucking getting old now? Which in reality, I guess I am. My body's not the same as it used to be 10 years ago or 5 years ago. And it's quite worrying, because I think, damn, is this like the start of the decline? Like, is my ability to hold on to the same amount of mass, is it going to go down? Is my ability to maintain, you know, a low body fat percentage, is that going to be harder for me to hold on to? And I think realistically it is. I don't think I've reached a point where, you know, I'm never going to see myself in peak condition. But I do think for me to get in the best condition of my life, I am most likely going to have to do some form of competition where I'd have a goal in mind, and where that, you know, my training becomes the priority once again. And my social life obviously is going to take a hit, my business life will probably take a hit, but I'll devote my life to really being in the best condition that I could possibly be in. And I think a lot of bodybuilders, you know, they don't fully mature or get into their, you know, the peak of what they're capable of until they're in their early 30s or mid 30s, which is a lesson to all of you guys, because you know, everyone who wants to get like the best physique they could possibly get in, you're not going to get in that condition in your early 20s or after a couple of years of training. You know, you have to build a great amount of muscle maturity and just chip away at it, you know, every week, every year, consistently. And when I look back at the past 10 years, I would say I've been pretty goddamn consistent. I've trained pretty much every single week of the year. The longest period of time which I had off from training over the past 10 years, I had a 7 to 10 day break because I had a hair transplant. And after the hair transplant, the doctor said, you know, you shouldn't sweat, you shouldn't do any intense training. So I was kind of just restricted to just going on walks. And I did feel like I deflated quite a bit during that period of time. Even though I didn't lose a huge amount of muscle mass, you only really start to lose muscle mass after 2 weeks of not doing resistance training. You know, I certainly felt like I didn't look very good at that point in time. But it goes to show, if you guys want to have a great physique, you have to be consistent and you have to keep chipping away at it. It's okay to have like some bad days or some, you know, a week off here and there, but don't go and have like 3 months off or 6 months off. You know, that's really going to impact your ability to maintain a decent condition or to build new muscle tissue, right? So don't let that happen. And I'd say one thing which I've learned quite a lot over the past 10 years is I'm consistent at going to the gym and training hard. The intensity of the gym sessions is almost always like pretty damn high. It's rare for me to not train hard. I think one of the biggest contributors to my physique and my condition is actually my lifestyle and what happens outside of the gym. So whenever I'm going through periods of time where my sleep is not good, my food is not good, or I'm drinking alcohol, my physique takes a hit. And I have an ability to remain lean, but I noticed that the ability to maintain a large degree of muscle mass is definitely impacted negatively by alcohol consumption. Alcohol consumption for me is the biggest killer. And honestly, I enjoy a drink, but I notice it sets me back a good couple of days. And when I've just gone through a period now, 5 weeks, I haven't drank anything. Everything's been going really good in the gym. I feel stronger than ever. And the only thing is, I could go and have one night out where I have like a comfortable amount of drinks, and I notice it will definitely reduce my overall strength in some of my compound lifts, which is very frustrating. And I really just think now, like, what's the point in doing it? But I like to have a flexible approach to life, and I like to enjoy it. So I don't really like to be too restrictive with the things which I do. I hope you've all enjoyed this video, this little story of the past 10 years of my life and my training. And if you need some assistance with training programs, definitely get involved with the Thirst app. Some of the best training programs that you can get your hands on. They're all catered towards maximizing muscle hypertrophy. And then of course we have the one-to-one coaching if you need some specialized assistance with following a customized training program, nutrition program. You get to speak to me, and obviously you'll have guidance along your journey as you transform your physique, be in the best condition that you've ever been in. See you guys in the next video.